Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is why it's important to protect your business with an LLC. Limited liability companies, or LLCs, offer crucial liability protections for business owners. Here are 5 reasons why it matters. Number 1, separation of assets. An LLC establishes a legal separation between your personal assets and those of your business. In the event of legal issues or debts related to your real estate ventures, your personal wealth is generally shielded. Number 2, personal protection. As a business owner, your personal liability is limited. Your risk is confined to the amount you've invested in the LLC, protecting your personal finances from the potential fallout of business challenges. Number 3, legal buffer. If the business faces legal action or financial troubles, the LLC acts as a buffer. Creditors typically can't pursue personal assets such as your home or savings to satisfy business debts. Number 4, risk mitigation. Real estate investments can be unpredictable. The liability protection offered by an LLC provides a safety net, allowing you to navigate potential challenges without jeopardizing your personal financial stability. Number 5, professional peace of mind. Knowing that your personal assets are shielded from business-related liabilities allows you to focus on growing your real estate ventures with confidence. It adds a layer of security to your entrepreneurial journey. So, in essence, forming an LLC isn't just a bureaucratic step, it's a strategic move that significantly reduces the personal risk associated with real estate investing. It's your shield against the unexpected, providing the peace of mind needed for a successful and sustainable real estate investment business. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us Brad Bunin. Brad has 18 plus years of experience in real estate. In the last few years, he developed a specialized focus in multifamily. He is an expert negotiator, serving in various roles such as acquisition, disposition, underwriting, leasing, debt structuring, and risk management. Brad is currently serving as the VP of Acquisitions and Finance for Bi-Coastal. Brad and his team most recently stabilized a 96 unit within 90 days of closing, exceeding pro forma estimates. I'm especially interested in learning how he did that, so welcome to the show, Brad Bunin.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you.
Welcome. Listen to that applause. They're so excited you're here.
They got me excited.
So tell us a little bit about you. I know you have 3 cute young boys and you're in Tampa, Florida. So yes. How did you get involved in real estate?
Gosh, well, I think there's 2 points of my life where I got involved in real estate. The first point of my life was when I decided to what I would major in college, which was major in fraternity.
What fraternity?
Theta Chi.
I was a Tri Delt.
Ooh, okay.
Delta, Delta, Delta.
Cool. Yeah. I remember going to some of those meetings to convince them to do socials with us in college. Okay.
Very nice.
Yeah. But one of the few things I remember about college. But when I did graduate college, I realized after majoring fraternity that it's kind of hard to find a job. So my first way of getting into real estate was by chance, and I ended up becoming a loan officer in the mortgage industry because when you don't have a specialized major, you tend to fall into sales. So that was my first pivot. And then after I did that for several years, I decided I wanted something a little more stable, not as commission heavy. And I went into the staffing industry out of all things, opposite of real estate. And I did that for many years and still there. But then a few years ago, I said, hey, kind of still got that real estate bug. I kind of want to be financially free. So how about I go look back into that and see how my skills still apply? And so I started that journey a few years ago, and here I am today.
Very nice. And before we move on to real estate, a very important question here. Is Ybor City still active in Tampa?
It still exists.
It still exists.
Yes.
I got to say, I'm from Miami. I'm very particular, but the all-time best Cuban sandwich I've ever had in my life was in Ybor City in Tampa. So I'm just saying. And again, I'm super, super picky because I am from Miami. So, and then I had to drive across the state to go have the best Cuban ever. But anyway, I digress. So you were in the mortgage industry for a little while, then went to staffing. How do you think that helped you with your real estate, having that background? I'm sure it helped quite a bit.
Sure.
But did you have to shift to think more like doing creative financing and all that other fun stuff that comes with real estate as an investor?
Sure. Great question. So, I think when people view the world of real estate and what they're trying to get into and how they do it, the first step that I would think about, and this is how I approached it, is what are the consistent skills, whether it was real estate for me as a loan officer or staffing, that I've consistently applied throughout that entire journey. And for me, it was sales. And for me, it was communicating with other people. And so I look at it as a blessing to have done many different things where I spent a first part of my career selling to consumers. And then I spent the second part of my career selling to business. And so then you have this construct, well, I understand how a business functions from a budgetary standpoint and how to convince business buyers. I understand how to convince consumer buyers. And now all of a sudden you say, well, what happens when you go into multifamily, which happens to be a business and happens to be real estate? You marry the two. And then so for me, I am incredibly grateful to have done many different things. But I would say the secret, and I'm guilty of saying this word secret sauce, is understand your natural gift and lean into that. And as long as you are honest and authentic with the natural gift, that's how you get the success.
I love everything you just said. And I also need to add to that, being in a fraternity probably also helped you in your real estate business. Do you think? Do you agree with me on that?
Of course.
Having that experience
with people.
Exactly. I did the sorority thing, but then during college, I worked at Disney World and learning, just working with people in different ethnicities and et cetera. So that was a huge part of it. So I am completely grateful, just like you are, for having those experiences in life. And it just makes you better at real estate. Now you brought up sales, and Honestly, I sold Aflac for about 30 seconds. I'm like, sales sucks. I hate sales. But real estate is complete sales. So how is it that you use the sales background? How has it really helped your real estate business?
Oh my gosh. Well, don't get me started. You sure you have enough time on the podcast?
I do, but let it loose. I want to hear all this.
All right. So in sales, the biggest thing that people will learn is that sales is very much like sports. It is a numbers game. And what I mean by that is all you have to do is understand your system of reps. And in the sales world, we call it KPIs. KPIs stand for key performance indicators. It is very simply put, how do you measure your effort? That's really it. And so what you do in sales is when you understand what your outcome needs to be, let's say I'm going to make up something. I need to find a property and get it under contract. You say, great. How do I do that? You have to understand your KPIs. How do you understand your KPIs? Find someone else who has done it and ask them what their KPIs were. Well, how do I do that? Well, do research and find as many people as possible that are doing the type of real estate you want to do. Once you find out those KPIs, then find out what those people did, then you just reverse engineer it. And let's say that person says, I had to make X amount of offers to land a contract. You could say, okay, that means I need to make that at least the same amount of offers that person made over X period of time. So the other part of sales is understanding the number, but understanding the time constraint as well. Over a day, over a week, over a month, over a quarter, over a year. You have to measure that effort on a consistent basis. Once you understand the KPIs, then you know that's the system. And so you just follow the system. The other part that people will say about sales will say, okay, great, Brad, I understand the system. How do you talk to people?
This is where your negotiation skills come in. I love this.
So you say, okay, great. Well, how do you talk to people? My first statement would be is, well, go talk to people. But just kidding. A little more to that. But in the most basic manner, the first thing is, in sales, you need to have your value proposition. When I say a value proposition, it's very simply put, what is your value to the marketplace or the audience that you're speaking to? You need to understand that right off the bat, and that should be something you can state within 30 seconds of whatever conversation or meeting that you have. Someone will ask, you have to be able to recite. Very simply put. Understand that. The second part is just listen. Just listen. Don't talk. The worst salespeople are the ones that can't stop talking. Listen, and listen. And your job as a salesperson is to ask questions. And in that conversation, when you're asking questions, you should know before you ask the questions, what outcome do you want of the conversation? So before you have a meeting with someone, you should have a list of questions ready in your head or ideally written down, your cell phone, on your computer, or wherever. But as long as you have that system there, everything else takes care of itself.
So well said. And it's just like running an interview on a podcast is you have to have your questions ready. And I understand that completely. So one of the points that you have in here is that if you have a voice, a computer, and internet, you can do anything in life. What do you mean by that statement?
Great question. Well, if you have a voice, you can network. You can talk. And if you can talk and you can network, you can create business opportunities. You can create cash flow opportunities. You can create a business. You can build a business. You can sell a business. You can find real estate. You can find friends. You can build a community. You can join a mastermind. You can do anything. Having internet means you can do it from anywhere. You can do it in any country, in any state, in any time zone, at any time of the day. Doing anything and everything from being in an RV to being at a campsite to sitting at a Starbucks. Was there any other part that I mentioned about that?
You said a computer and internet. You can do anything in life.
Well, the computer is you need a place to house your data, I guess. Yeah.
Very good. And I love that you put this in here because you currently are working a W-2, and many of my listeners are still in corporate America. They're working a job trying to get into real estate. So how are you paving that path, and how can you help the listeners to really break out of that comfort zone that they're in right now?
Oh gosh, this is my favorite topic in the entire world. I love this so much. So the first thing, anyone that has other obligations, W-2s, businesses, whatever, you may say kids or family or whatever, is most people will say, I don't have time. Most people say, I don't have time all the time. That's the most common thing you hear. So my counter argument is the following, is find the time because you do have it. But here's the why you should find time. So let's talk about the why, and then I can dissect how. Find the time because if you can develop an opportunity for passive income to create financial freedom while you have other obligations, and you're able to do that in 10 hours a week, 5 hours a week, 15 hours a week, and let's say in 2 years, 3, 4, or 5, you are financially independent, and you did that off 10 hours a week. That means you have established a lifestyle in 3 to 5 years where you can support your entire life authentically off 10 hours a week. Is that better than 40, 50, 60 hours a week on a W-2?
Yes.
So why not try to do it now when your time is so constrained that you have to? And that's, to me, the biggest aha moment I had when I told myself in the past I had no time, because that's just not true. We all have the time. We are making choices, conscious and unconscious, to not create that time for us. And so then the next part goes to, how do you find the time?
Right.
Very simple. I call it 2 basic things, maybe 3, but 1, calendar worship, meaning you got to manage your life hour by hour, days and evenings, weekends as well. You have to know, what are you actually doing every single day? And you would be mind blown that you probably waste 4, 5, 6 hours a day every single day.
So true.
That's the first step. Second step is, when you're looking at your day, focus on the top 3 things that will advance your ultimate goals in life and purpose, and do the hardest things first. If you can do those 3 things I just mentioned, you can do this while you still have a W-2 or other obligations.
So well said. Thank you, Brad, for that. I can remember the last 7 or 8 months that I worked for Aetna. I told you I went into health insurance, and they allowed me to move my hours around because I had to find that time, just like you're saying. And so instead of going to work at 9, I actually went into work at 7 a.m. So 2 hours earlier, so I could leave by 3, go home, do my modules on my education program that I was studying, call leads, do all that, and run my real estate business. And it was a pain in the ass for those 8 months. But yes, it absolutely set me up to be able to say, peace out. December 22nd of 2018 was the last time I collected a paycheck from corporate America. So what are you doing in your schedule to free up time? Because there's people listening, they're driving to work right now, and they are just like, okay, I feel like I have so many hours in the day. What are some things that you do to create that time to become more successful in real estate?
Great question. And so I'll answer this in a few ways. First of all, it's not something you solve for in one day. And so for the listeners that are saying, oh my gosh, well, yeah, that sounds great, but not for me. I have to go in the office. I can't do that. I don't have the benefit of, working from home, or, I always have to go on the road, or my manager, requests too many meetings. It's just not possible. So it takes time. Okay. But the first step is understanding what your day-to-day is, and understanding not how do you make the time happen, but who can do things for you. So the first concept I would say is leverage. So if you are doing things in your day that you do right now, are there, ideally not peers, but are there people underneath you in your organization that can do that work for you? Can you empower another human being to accomplish their dreams, and then they can assist in doing some of the work that you used to do? Are there other people you can trust to do that? Second statement, are there activities that you do in your life that are below your hourly wage that you can outsource to other human beings? Serious statement, because if your value at work, just going to make up a number, $100 an hour, $50 an hour, and there are tasks that you do on a daily basis that someone else would do for $25 an hour.
Or even $10 an hour.
Or $10 an hour, you should not be doing that task. Plain and simple. You may say, well, that means I have to spend money. Well, maybe yes, but that means you freed up an extra hour or two of your day to go do something else that's more meaningful because you earn $50 to $100 an hour, whatever your magic number is. So it's the basic of how do you approach viewing your schedule. And the third thing I will add is boundaries. And what I mean by boundaries is maybe your manager or maybe the people you work with at work have always expected you to be very responsive all the way till 10 p.m. at night. Maybe you're in 8 meetings a day, but the reality is you probably only need to be in 3. Start setting boundaries. Who can do a meeting for you on your behalf? Concept of leverage. Boundaries. I am cutting off the W-2 or other things at X period in the evening. I will not check my emails. I will do what's called email batching instead. Only look at emails at certain times of the day. Only take meetings at certain times of the day. So it's a constant battle, Jen, to answer that question. It's not one thing you can do the first day, but applying these principles over time, you can do it.
Again, you made my heart palpitate a little bit when you were talking about your boss expecting you to take a call at 10 o'clock at night. I remember those days, and I'm like, oh, it just made me go, like it was a punch in the gut. And I will never ever do that again. But so tell us about Bi-Coastal and how it can help the listeners and maybe get involved with investing, and what all do you do in the company?
Great question. So Bi-Coastal is a general partnership, or people.
And by the way, Bi is spelled B-U-Y. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yes, good catch.
Thank you.
So Bi-Coastal is a general partnership. In real estate, you may hear the term called a syndicate. And it's myself and 2 other business partners. And I had the financial strategy and acquisitions piece of that group. But what we do is we acquire large multifamily assets. And our job is to manage that asset and distribute essentially a profit that is satisfactory to either limited partners, or if it's not a syndicate, joint venture partners that are also active with us. And our objective ultimately is to build a real estate empire and provide affordable, good quality housing to as many people as possible, especially in communities that maybe the housing hasn't been upgraded in a long time. Maybe there are properties that have been sitting and neglected with tons of deferred maintenance that need a little love and attention. And there's so much of that out there in the world right now. You'd be astonished.
I know it. We call that value add. Those are the projects I love, and they're owned by a mom and pop who are just tired. And those are the ones I love to go in and help. And the tenants are excited that you're coming in as well because you are beautifying their property, et cetera. Anyway, keep going. Correct. Sorry.
No, it's
I got excited.
Valid point. So we started that. Gosh, how long ago was that? Time flies by. I guess maybe a year and a half ago we started that, but we had all been doing real estate already. We have all been doing deals together independently. And then we had that aha moment, or I had that aha moment. I said, well, I can't do this alone, and I want to change the world. So I identified my natural gift, which is sales and numbers and putting these deals together and being a salesperson to hunt. And I said, I'm good at acquisitions. I can do other things, but this is where I'm best. I said, well, you grow best with other people. Who else can I find? And so I found an excellent capital raiser, or my investor relations. So he helps bring in the money. And they found an excellent asset manager. And their job is to manage the asset after we close the deal. And between the 3 of us, we take over the world.
This is amazing. And this is now leading into the question I've been chomping at the bit. I want to hear how you stabilize this 96 unit within 90 days of closing, exceeding the pro forma estimates. And before you dive into it, please explain what stabilizing means.
Sure. Fantastic question. So in real estate, when you buy something, more often than not, it is not stabilized day one, meaning you don't have the tenants in there that are paying the rents that you want to see, and they're actually paying on a regular basis. So a stabilized property is renovations are complete, the rents are at the market rents of the local area, and you have the right tenants in there that are paying you rents on time as expected.
Okay. So 96 units within 90 days. Now, I have a 12 unit in Virginia that I am still working on stabilizing because of we had extensive renovations, definitely, owned by mom and pop type situation. But now we are cycling through some of the current residents that have been paying like probably a third of what the market rent is. So how did you do this with 96 units? I'm dealing with 12 right now. 96 units within 90 days of closing. How did you manage all that craziness?
Well, you close your eyes and you just wave a magic wand and you see what happens. You're like, oh, here we go. Kidding. Fabulous question. Well, first and foremost, I'll say you do that with a team and not by yourself. So my first statement I'd say to a group is, if you're saying, wow, I can do that in 90 days on my own, the answer is no, you can't. But you can do it with excellent people. So the first step is you have to have the right team. And that goes beyond just the team of your asset manager and your capital raiser. That is your local property manager. That is your local general contractor. These are your local HVAC technicians, your maintenance person at a building, the whole thing. So that's the first step. To stabilize something, you got to have the good team that can move fast and everyone's on the same page. To stabilize this one quickly, for us, it was really a very big operations play. So when we looked at this deal and we looked at how the property was being managed, what we noticed is that the operations of the business were probably about 20% higher than what we have seen in that area, meaning the property manager was taking in a much higher amount of fees. The employees had a significant increase of compensation that is much higher than traditional. And the way they were spending just in terms of their repairs and maintenance on their units of what is repairs and maintenance versus CapEx, a lot of it was just also accounting. How are they actually reporting everything? And are they reporting things in the right place? And so between those metrics, we were able to reduce the operational expenses of the operations by standardizing how the property manager is being compensated. We also made sure to have a good maintenance team. So the prior team had no maintenance on staff. They literally had 5 or 6 months of deferred maintenance that wasn't happening in the building because they had no maintenance people. So we hired a full-time maintenance person that was on staff, and we developed a better reputation to the tenants by actually fixing things when they need to be fixed and having a good cadence of good quality response times. That's important to stabilize a property so you get better feedback from tenants and reviews. So to stabilize the property, we are getting lease renewals as an example. The other part is marketing. The previous owner of the business or apartment, they did not advertise the units for lease on the street. You may drive by an apartment and you may see those big flags. Sometimes they go, "Now leasing." They never did that. So it's the small things. We decided after we closed, we asked the property manager, "Hey, do you have flags in your closet?" And they said, "Yes." We asked them, "Do you use them?" They go, "No." We go, "Okay, let's go put those out tomorrow." And guess what? We put them out tomorrow, and we had walk-ins the next day signing leases.
Brad, I love this. And I'm sorry to cut you off because you're opening my eyes to this whole flip side of things on the operations side. I am one who looks for the ones that are the rundown properties where I can go in and update the kitchens, put a fresh coat of paint on the outside, fix the roof, things like that, where you are looking at the other side of it as the operations. And when you are lowering that operations expense, that immediately starts raising the value and thus stabilizing. So what a fantastic concept. Brad, thank you for teaching me about that. And I had cut you off. I'm sorry. Did you want to add something to that?
I'll be honest, I was on a roll and I don't remember. So we can go to
sorry.
the next
I just got so excited. I'm like, I didn't even think to do this. And how did you find that property that was dealing with
Oh my
operational
God.
mess ups.
This is my favorite part about the journey is that property found me, right? So as a part of my journey in real estate, I talked about the sales methodology and process of those KPIs. And so I implemented that process for myself for my first year of real estate. And that's what I did. After I closed a few deals, guess what? Your name becomes someone that's known within the local market. And so after I'd closed a few deals, I received a cold call from a local broker, or for those not familiar with real estate, that's your realtors essentially in the commercial world. They're called brokers. And a broker called me and he goes, "Hey, is your name, Brad, and do you own such and such property?" He looked it up and I go, "Yeah, I don't know how you found me, but that's cool." And he said, "Well, I got a 20 unit. I'm not at the 96. I'll get there in a second." He's like, "I have a 20 unit that's local to you with some assumable debt." And I looked at it and I said, "Hey, that's great." And we closed on that 20 unit. And this was October of 2022 as a data point. Closed on that deal, developed a really good relationship with that broker. And I'll fast forward 45 days. He calls me. He goes, "Hey, Brad, I know this is a little bit above what we did before 20 units, but would you be interested in 96 unit?" I live life with a sense of urgency. And I said, "Yes, I am. Tell me more." And he says, "Well, it's actually the same seller you just bought a property from in October."
Wow.
Yeah. And he's like, "Would you be interested in taking a look?" I looked at the deal, and with traditional debt, it actually didn't price out with the current interest rates. But I worked with the broker and I used my creative finance mind, and we put together a deal the seller could not refuse.
Wonderful. That is just fantastic. Now, do you ever buy any properties that are not local to you?
This one's not local to me.
Oh, the 90. Okay.
It's outside of Kentucky, right outside of Cincinnati.
Got it. Because you had mentioned local, so that's why. Because there are people who are listening who are afraid to even look out of their little 30-mile radius.
Sure.
So now, do you look for properties, or just because this one fell into your lap that you went after it, or is this kind of a unicorn, or how does that work? Are you actively looking elsewhere as well?
I'm always looking elsewhere. Always. Yeah, always. In fact, I own I think four apartment buildings in the greater Cincinnati, Kentucky area, and I live in Tampa, Florida. I own 2 apartment buildings in Tampa, Florida. So I actually own more out of state than I do local to me.
And I prefer the out of state, because then I'm not tempted to go drive by all the time, and I have to put my trust and leverage is the word you used with other people. So Brad, this is fantastic information. You heard me at the beginning give a badassery bestowment, which is a little nugget. Do you have a badassery bestowment you can share with my listeners?
Absolutely. So I'm so passionate about this stuff. But I would tell all your listeners, there's no one better than you or more talented than you. You have everything you need today to get started. You don't need money if you have time, and you don't need time if you have money. In fact, if you have both, you can make it happen even faster. And I'd also say live life with a sense of urgency. The most successful people in life take action. The people that get things done the fastest are the ones that move mountains over time. Be urgent about your dreams and be urgent about your life.
I think that taking action is probably the most important. I have so many students that they want to just educate and educate and educate. And you were talking about the KPIs at the beginning. And, we used the example of getting a property under contract. I tell students it took me 20 offers to get my first property under contract. And so that's what I tell them. Just like you said, find an expert in the area and ask them how many offers it took them to finally get something under contract. And literally one of my students who is in Central Florida just got on their 20th offer, got their first property under contract. So
awesome.
I know, very, very exciting. Super proud of them. So the next part of the podcast is what makes Brad Bunin a badass, which you are. And I use the acronym BADASS. And the first letter is B for book. What is a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
Think and Grow Rich.
Woo, good one. And what about it made such a difference for you?
So another area I'm passionate about is mindset. And Think and Grow Rich, for those that don't know, is a book by Napoleon Hill. And he spent years interviewing the most successful, wealthiest people of the early 20th century. These are your Andrew Carnegie's, your Henry Ford's, your Thomas Edison's, those type of people around that time. And what he found were a few interesting facts. One, that the reason they felt they were all successful was that they believed. They had an unwavering confidence that they know where they're going and no one will stop them. They persist. No matter what happens in front of them, they persist. So if you just have to believe that you're capable, then you just follow the system, also known as the KPIs. That means you can do it. And that's that whole concept that there's no one more better than you or more talented than you, and you have everything you need today to get started. A part of my badassery bestowment statement.
Exactly.
Right there. The second part of the book, though, is this concept of a mastermind. And I don't know if Napoleon Hill is the person who coined the word or not, but it's so empowering. We've heard these stories in life that your children are the sums of the friends they hang out with. You know, we are the sums of the people we are closest to. So if we want to get where we want to be in life, should we not surround ourselves with the people that want the same things? And so if you're the smartest person in the room, as an example, you're probably in the wrong room because you can't grow. So if you're looking at yourself saying, wow, I want to get into real estate, or if I want to buy an apartment building, maybe you should find a group that's buying apartment buildings that's already doing what you want to do. Or if you say, I want to go buy exotic cars. I don't know. I just thought about that. Go join a group that buys exotic cars and find the person who's done it before you. If you say, I want to have $20 million, find a group of people that have $20 million and learn about what they did. It's that simple.
And in addition to that, if you have, out of those 5 people that you surround yourself with, that one nagging person, because maybe they are blood related to you, you still got to cut them out. This is like your life right here. If you want to propel it and advance your business, you can't have that one person that is still like, oh, are you sure you want to quit that perfectly good corporate America job, etc. So you need to get that buzz out of your ear. So on the flip side, yes, of what you said, and that person could be blood related. So just put a little distance there. Back to your boundaries that you were talking about before. All right. Brad, you are awesome. I love that.
Thank you.
The first A in badass is for advice. You gave us some great advice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
There's so much I've received over my life, but one of the things that always stood out to me is be the hardest working person in the room. And I know that sounds cheesy to a sense. And listen, when we're talking about financial freedom, obviously, once you're at that point, you may not be the hardest working person in the room then. But for you to get where you want to be, it is a proven system that if you do more practice, if you do more reps than the next person, you will eventually become the best person in that room. It's the old sports analogy that Michael Jordan would take more shots than everyone else, and eventually he will make more shots, right? It's just so basic. You do more than everyone else.
I was totally thinking Michael Jordan the entire time when you brought up that sports analogy before. Excellent. All right. The D in badass is for drive. What drives Brad to be successful?
We're all going to die one day.
Oh, okay.
And I know that sounds morbid, but it's the one thing we all cannot escape. It's the one thing no one wants to talk about. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter if you're the healthiest person. It doesn't matter if you're the most unhealthy person. It's an inalienable result. So the reason I say that, what drives me is you got to have a sense of urgency. You got to live life right now. Why would you work so hard your entire life until you're 65 years old to have a very short window of retirement, which may or may not be the health and lifestyle that you would have hoped to have to travel the world?
Right.
Why would you want that? So change it.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And that urgency and just having that drive. So well said. All right. The second A in badass is aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what is a goal you are currently working on?
Oh, there's so many goals I'm working on here. My gosh. Well, obviously, financial freedom is obviously priority number one. But once I'm at that point, I want to change lives. I want to inspire the world. And one of my eventual goals is going to be becoming a motivational speaker and inspiring not just thousands, but millions of people. Because I know that you can do it. I know everyone's capable of doing it. It's just what we choose to believe in our head. And if we can't do it, it's only because it's a limiting belief. We believe that we can't. And because we believe that we can't, we don't do it.
And I get to say, oh, when you are talking to those millions of people, oh, he was on my podcast way back when. I will be proud to announce that. All right. The first S in badass is for systems. What systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
Oh my gosh. Great question. Well, first and foremost, you need to have the goals, Jen. You said it right there. You need to know, where do you want to be? That's step one. And you got to have lifetime goals. You need to have 10-year goals, 5-year goals, and 12-month goals. And then you also need to have quarterly goals and monthly goals and all the way down to weekly and daily goals.
Yep.
So goals is step one. Okay. The next part is design those KPIs that I just mentioned, the key performance indicators around those goals. Once you know where you want to go, the KPIs are the how. Right? So some people say, well, I don't know how to do it. Well, put down the goals first, and then you start filling in the KPIs. And if you don't know how, there's these things called masterminds I may have brought up before. Mm-hmm. If someone's ever heard of those. And ask those people, and they can fill in the how for you. Or ask other people that are interested in the same thing. They can fill in the how. And then once you have the how, next part is, most important, take massive action. It doesn't matter how you feel on the day, just do it and do the hardest things first.
That's that book, Eat the Frog. Eat That Frog or something. Gosh, it's been so long since I've read that. But get the worst things out first thing in the morning. Yes, agreed. Yep. All right. The final S in badass is for success. What does success mean to Brad Bunin?
Success means living life on my own terms in my own way. I can do the things when I want to do, how I want to do, but most importantly, I get to create change and inspire others. I want to show the world that everyone deserves to have a life on their own terms, where they are authentically happy. They know when they wake up every single day where they're going. And then when they know where they're going, then all they need to do is figure out how they're going to do it. And when I view my life in the future and what that looks like, I see a world where people come to me and they say, Brad, you have helped me understand my life and where I want to be and how to conquer my dreams. I view myself as a transformational leader. I want to transform people's minds of what they view they can do and then watch them succeed. And if I can watch people succeed and not only change their life, I'm going to go a step forward. One step further, the Ed Milet statement, change the generation, right? How cool would it be, as Ed Milet says, and I love his content, by the way, to be the one? Like, why not you? Why can't you be the one in your life? Why not? Like, people wake up every single day, and I get so passionate about this. They wake up thinking they're not capable. They're thinking because maybe they're already 50 years old. Maybe they've been in the same job for 20 years. Maybe they have 3 kids like me. Maybe they have 5 kids. Maybe they've never done a sales call in their life. Maybe they have no money and they can barely afford rent. But what if you could still wake up the next day and you still have a voice and you still have a computer and you still have the internet and you could still pick up the phone and do something? It means you're capable. And that you can be the generational change. You can be that person, and you can lift all future generations up for the rest of your family lineage. Yes, I get excited about that. I can't wait.
Well, as a coach, I know it is like the best form of learning is through teaching, and seeing that firsthand. It truly is such an awesome experience to provide that for others. And I see the sky is the limit for you. Brad, it has been such a pleasure speaking with you. Tell us how people find Bicoastal if they would like to maybe start partnering with you. What's the best way for them to find it?
Absolutely. So if you want to find Bicoastal, you can actually go to our website, bicoastal.org, and you can reach out to us there.
And it's BUYCOSTAL.org, not com.
Yes, thank you. So if you want to get started leveraging your cash, that's a great way for you to get an opportunity there. You can also reach out to me on Facebook. My name, Bradley Bunin. You can reach out to me there. I'm happy to talk with you and engage with you there. And then I'm also happy to help mentor people one-on-one. So if you're looking for informal mentorship, just opportunities for advice, how to get started, you can reach out to me there. Last but not least, this is my pie in the sky, but I'll make this statement. I have created a YouTube channel at Brad Bunin. I'll just make a disclaimer that I don't have content there yet, but everyone be prepared because this rocket ship's about to blast off. You're going to see some content in Q4, and I can't wait.
Well, you are an inspiration. Thank you for teaching me about stabilizing so much quicker by finding people with some messed up operating expenses there. So I am going to be on the lookout for that. Awesome. And I'm sure there's going to be many listeners out there who will want to check out that YouTube channel and with the content that you're going to be putting there with that rocket ship, because the sky is the limit. And Brad, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing everything today. And I just appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, Jen.
Absolutely. And that is all. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.